Oh, God, here we are. More politics. Politics. We've only got, this is Wednesday. We only got 20 days to go. And then, oh, my God. Then we have the aftermath. And then we have the transition team. No matter who gets elected, it's going to be a transition team because the current president will not be president in January 20th. Yeah, he'll be retired. And it'll either be Kamala or it'll be the Trumper. Which will it be? I don't know. I told my kids are wondering what is going to happen here. Well, you know what? This is what Jimmy thinks. Jimmy thinks that when it all comes down to your wallet. And people will vote with their wallet. And right now their wallets are empty. So they're going to want something else. And we only had one other we've only had one other time in our history where a president was president and then he was not president for a 4-year period and then he became president again. And I don't know, is that Calvin Coolidge? I don't know, I'll have to ask Alexa. Oh, God. Do I dare do it?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, who was the only other president that was elected and then was not president for 4 years and then 4 years later became president?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Ah, of course they don't know that one. All right, well, we'll look it up. There is an answer to that. It's like Coolidge or somebody, it was 139 years ago or something. It was a long time ago, but it happened. Trump would not be the first one. He would be the second one. We've had presidents, and then we've had sons of presidents, and I think that's happened a couple of times. But where you've had, instead of an 8-year contiguous term, you had 2 4-year terms separated by somebody else. And this could be another one of those cases. I have a feeling it's going to be another one of those cases. Because, I'm not really a Trump fan, per se. He's a cranky old bastard. Fire him, He is tough. Which, that in itself is okay, But these contractors, they're tough. They like to fire them. You don't do the job, get off the job. There was somebody that I knew, actually. This is kind of a very unique thing for for just some guy that's living in Tampa. And I was working for Southeast Bank. Marilyn and I moved there from South Miami. Yeah. Had our house in Coral Springs. The little woman left me. She was cheating with the history teacher, goddammit. Oh, damn somebody, I don't know. Sorry about God. Damn it. Anyway, she has since passed away. I guess she just couldn't stand the stress. 10 years of Jimmy was enough. Anyway, so I sold my house in Coral Springs and then moved to South Miami. And I don't know if I guess I would have sold the house. I don't know. Anyway, then we moved. Oh, yeah, that's right. We bought a townhouse. I met a nice young lady in Miami who worked for the bank. And what else? You always marry somebody that you meet where you work. Oh boy. This would have been the second time. This one has worked out a lot better since Marilyn and I have stuck it together for 44 years. Can you imagine? Since 1980. Ooh. January, February, somewhere in there, 1980. Yep. We were in a training class. I was known as they didn't want to call you teacher because, then you're like superior to somebody. It was bank training. So there were 8 of us, including Jimmy, and they called us facilitators. In other words, we get everybody talking, and we answer questions, we ask questions, we go around the room, we get people not allowed to sleep. Yeah, I forget what I was facilitating, but each of us had a half day, or there were 7 of us had half days, and there was only a half day on Friday, so it was 8.5 days, and it was at the Rivergate Plaza, the Sheraton Rivergate Plaza at the Miami Airport. Still there, building is still there. Yeah, and this person that'll remain unnamed at the moment was sitting somewhere, probably in the back of the room. She was going through a divorce. I just gone through my divorce. And she was like a week away. I was either a week ahead of her or a week behind her. I forget which. But anyway, we didn't get divorced because of each other. We got divorced in separate counties. I was in Broward County, and she was in Dade County. D-A-D-E, Dade County. Miami-Dade. Anyway, her husband was fooling around with the cheerleaders. My wife was fooling around with the history teacher. I saw the guy, I was going to tear his head off. I figured, oh my God. And the way in which I discovered this, I got to tell you, it'll only take a minute. So, this is 46 years ago, okay? So I'm, in the, school starts in August, September, or something like that. So our kids were going to the Boca Raton Academy, okay? So I was in, so the parents, they had parents' day or parents' night. I think it was night. And so they hand out the assignment sheets, the homeroom. So at 7:01 p.m. Or 6:01 p.m., sometime early evening, because they don't give you there too long. You show up at your homeroom class where your little third grader, is in the homeroom. So Robin Wilson was in, room 107 or something. I'm making that up. And so I'm, since my then wife Steele was a biology teacher, pardon the expression there. Yeah, so I'm sitting in room 107, and of course, since she's a teacher, and I don't know what I was. I guess I was a banker, yeah, and a Royal Trust banker. I'm sitting in a room. Of course, I'm there early because Steele had to get there early because she's a teacher, and all the teachers have to show up before all the parents show up. Anyway, so I'm sitting in, and this was like before, let's see. Yeah, I think it was before cell phones. Yeah, it was before cell phones. They were just coming out. I have an old one. Oldie but goldie. The brick. Let me get the brick. I found the brick. Yeah, the cell phones these days are... Sorry about that. Minor interruption. Here's the brick. Look at this. I couldn't give it up. I mean, it must weigh 2 pounds. Motorola. Dynatec 8500 XL. And here's the miraculous little battery. Slides right on it. I mean, this Motorola makes this stuff. It's like military grade equipment. There we go. It's got an antenna. You can put a longer antenna, a shorter one. Yeah, they got a little stubby antenna. They got a big long one in case you're, you know. It was I had this thing tuned up so I got to know since I'm a little bit of a technology character, I read all the books. I read the books twice. I may have read the book 3 times on this one. Yeah. But I kept this one. It cost me $3,800. Or it cost my company $3,800. Yeah. And they didn't take trades. So when you bought it, you owned it. Yeah. So I'm not going to throw it out. So I retained it. South Coast purchase. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my StarTech. I keep that right over there for posterity. Yeah, show it over this way. So yeah, show it off. That next to my iced tea, or my warmed over tea from this morning. I haven't finished it yet. Anyway, so I'm in room 107. I had to get there early because, what do I call it? Let's turn that down one notch. I'm like competing with my background music, my epidemic, instrumental royalty free, which is my background music. Pretend we're at the dentist, but we're not going to get drilled on today. Anyway, room 107. I had to get there early because Steele had to get there early. We rode in the same car, so I'm sitting in there and I'm twiddling my thumbs, wondering what am I going to... Oh my God, I got 20 more minutes before the rest of the parents show up. And then when the parents show up, I gotta the one that's there first. I'm there before the stupid teacher is there, the Robbins teacher. So I have to shake hands with everybody. Ugh, gosh. I'm supposed to be a banker. All right, so anyway, I'm cooling my heels. And there was one of these desks where you kind of, you open it up. Ah, look at that. A little tray full of stuff. So I pull out this big old science book. It's like general science for 3rd graders. I figured, okay, so I open it up to, let's see how the 3rd graders, do with, plants or botany or whatever the heck they got going on in this book. So I open it, I turn the page, and then I turn the page, and then I'm reading it, and this looks pretty interesting. So, then, so, all of a sudden, I find this, I open up this, so I'm going through the textbook, and I open up, and I get this little note, and it's on this little yellow paper, and it says, Isabel, do you see Mrs. Wilson and Mr. Mark hugging each other in the teacher lounge? Ah! Mrs. Wilson and the history teacher. What the? I'm reading this little girly note. You could tell with the, the nice rounded letters, and it was a girly note from one girlie to another saying, "Did you see Mrs. Wilson hugging the history teacher in the student lounge?" In the teacher lounge. they got a door and it's got a little square window. Well, these little third graders are popping up and down like popcorn, looking through the window, and they're seeing my wife being slobbered over by the history teacher. I think his name was Mark or something like that. Oh, crap. So I just took this little note and I put another little fold on it and creased it right here and slipped it right in my pocket. I figured, aha, evidence. I'm going to call Dan Pescio. He was our corporate attorney with yeah. Oh, yeah, I wasn't in the bank yet. Oh, wait a minute, wasn't I? Yeah, no, I was... yeah. I called Dan Pescio. He was our corporate attorney in a company that I used to work for. But I was at Royal Trust Bank, yeah. But before that, I was with Kennedy and Cohen selling washers, dryers, ranges, and refrigerators, became the director of operations, moved around to 3 different states, and came back to Pompano Beach. Yeah. Then we bought a house in Coral Springs. And then she started fooling around with the history teacher. Anyway, so I called up Dan Pescio on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday morning the next week, and I said, Dan, I think there's trouble in paradise. Yes, sir, Bob. So I said, can I take you out to lunch or just have a brief lunch? We'll talk about a few things. How you doing? Yeah, I'm working in the bank. He said, yeah, how you doing? He's a lawyer. You know, we have nothing in common. I said, Dan, we now have something in common. I whip out this little note. And I said, you will not believe how I came across this little piece of evidence. So I go through the same story I just went through with you. And I said, oh, crap. He said, Jimmy, who was the biology teacher? I said, that's my wife. My not going to be such a wife in a while. And who was Mark? I said, that's the history teacher. And this little girl, Amy, whatever her name is, is just discovered, because they're popping up and down looking through the little square window. Because, in a school, it's a private school, a fantastic Boca Raton Academy. Kidding me? That was, the bee's knees of private schools in the country. Boca Raton, all the schmaltzy people got in that one. We didn't belong there, but Steele was a very persuasive biology. They needed a biology teacher, and she said, "Okay, you got me. My both kids are enrolled with a discount," which was like $5,000 a person 100 years ago. I mean, it was crazy. Anyway, so yep. That was the beginning of the end. Jimmy. So Dan Pescio says, okay, just calm down, Jimmy. September. Let a couple months go by. Let's have a cool down period just between yourself. Don't tell her you have this little note. I said, no, I'll wait. So guess what? The story gets crazy. So I didn't do anything so now we're into December with Christmas parties. Oh, crap. So Steele says, let's have a Christmas party, yang, 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 in our house in Coral Springs. I said, oh, how nice. I'm going to burn the freaking house down. She wants to have a Christmas party. Oh, crap. So I invite all my friends over, which are people that I worked with. And she invites all her friends over, which is the people that work at the Boca Raton Academy, including Mark. So, they kind of stayed away with each other, He was on one side of the place, hanging around his wife, and I'm serving people up. I'm, would you like a this? You like a that? You want an orange juice? You want a something stronger. I had a full bar set up and everything. There were a whole bunch of adults. And, I had the music playing in the background. Had really super duper. I had a good audio system. It was the kind that makes the plaster fall off the walls. If it's not a single family detached house, the apartment building would be vibrating. Yeah, but it was a residential detached house. Yes. And everybody knew when Jimmy had a party. Because when the front door opened, the tunes would come out. Anyway, so it was fun, until about 11 o'clock. What happened at 11 p.m.? Well, I had one of these. You walk in the front door, and there's like a sidewalk going through the middle of the house. And then there's a step down. And in that area is the living room. So the walk-through part is like elevated. And then it steps down about 10 inches, 12 inches. And then there's this sunken living room. Big, good-sized house. 2,000 square foot house. 4-bedroom, 2-bath. One bathroom fed those 3 bedrooms, and then our bedroom, the master bedroom, had its own bathroom. Nothing fancy, but it was nice. It was good. Split, 3-1 split, whatever you call it. Ranchy style house, South Florida, concrete block and stone and all this stuff. Very nice. And so then at 11 o'clock, I see this young lady, sitting on the walkway, with the step down. She's sitting on her panties on the top part, and her legs are, down on the bottom part. It's almost like a 12-inch step. Maybe it was 2 steps. So she's sitting there all by herself, and she seems to be, like sobbing a little bit. And I think, crap, already, the relationships are starting to deteriorate as the night goes on. So I sit down next to her, I'm Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, guys trying to keep the party with smiles on their faces. And I said, so what's your name? Oh, my name is Michelle. I said, oh, nice, I'm Jim. She said, I know you're Jim. You seem to be real nice, Jim. I said, well, thank you. I said, so what, how come you don't look so happy? What's the problem? So she points over there. So I kind of get down next to her finger. I said, point exactly where. Oh, you mean those 2 that are in a bear hug underneath the chandelier, dancing in the dining room there with a few other people that are dancing? Oh, gosh. Well, I know who one of them is. Who's the other one? The other one's my husband, Mark. I said, oh, my God, history teacher Mark? She said, yeah. I said, oh, crap. I said, Houston, we have a problem. Yes, I noticed that. Oh, my God. So, do you have any firearms with you? So that was, yeah. So I did a little rat-a-tat-tat on his shoulder. I said, Mark, go over there and say hello to your wife. And if I see you with steel again, you're going to be going out the front door with a foot right in the middle of your buttocks. So behave yourself. So he behaved himself, and she went into the ladies' room to powder her nose, whatever. And I maintained the party so that everyone would have a good time, except for me. But I tried to be happy anyway. What are you going to do, All you can do is all you can do. And when it comes to that, you can't, Mother Nature kind of works on itself. This whole thing where you have training and supervision and coaching and, forget all that. You start taking your pants off, you're done. And it was kind of old school, maybe. Oh, God, that's 45 years ago. Oh, my, or 47 years ago. So I met back with Dan Pescio. I said, okay, get your speed typewriters going because we're going to ramp this thing up into the fastest divorce known to man. Okay? Whatever Broward County will do, get it done. And I know you're good at it. So we will call it irreconcilable differences, a.k.a. I took my pants off with the history teacher. Yeah, maybe you can just bribe pass the judge a little note that the good woman was fooling around with the history teacher. And Mr. Jim Banker doesn't want to have to deal with any more of that. Because it's been going on for some period of time. He's been very patient. He tried his own psychological, get it back together again stuff, sort of. I took at least 10 minutes for that. I said, okay, we're done. Yeah. Dan Pescio, she knew who Dan Pescio was because she was a corporate lawyer for a big company I used to work for with 1,000 employees. Oh, I mean, not a huge company, but, big, multi-state. I was like the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, before they even invented the term, 50 years ago. I learned COBOL. I learned Fortran. I was in a special school that IBM taught at the T-Rex Center. It was one of the first IBM teaching things, reach out to the community. Anybody could sign up for this. Cost a few $100. I got my company to pay for it, which, $500, whatever it is, for 2 or 3 week intensive training on COBOL. So I could learn how to program these new IBM computers, which they call mainframe computers. You handwrite the code, then you give all these handwritten sheets over to and she key punches it, and then produces a little stack of cards with all the COBOL code, card after card, 80 characters long. And they'd feed those cards into a program called a compiler. And the compiler would take the COBOL and then compile it into machine language code that was specifically tailored to the computer that you were going to be operating. In other words, it didn't compile it in, because every computer, every manufacturer had their own machine language specifications, limitations, so forth. And in stacks and things, we store information and we pull it and move it. Anyway, so I was learning to code for a Burroughs B1700. The Burroughs B, like Burroughs B1700. That was a home office computer. Cost like $200,000, something like that. A lot of money, So we, did a Burroughs lease, I think, whatever $200,000 computer does on a 10-year lease, Bill Barnett, our accountant, was very talented at stretching that out so the payment was real small. So we got this thing. We had to get the computer room, all that, So anyway, so I learned how to do COBOL. Anyway, so in January, late January, early February, we were divorced. Dan did a 30-day. He said the fastest I could do this is about 5 weeks. I said, okay, done. Get it done. The tick-tock meter's running. So according to my watch, 5 weeks means, February 15th, she's going to be done. Well, you get her to sign the papers. Oh, she'll sign the papers. She may be a lefty tomorrow because I'm going to break her right arm, but she will sign it with at least one good arm. It wasn't that, wasn't a problem. She understood. She's going back to Virginia. I'm staying here. We added up all the assets. I said, there's 3 of you and 1 of me, so you get 75% of everything, and I get 25% of what's left. And the 25% that's what's left was the house in Coral Springs. So I got the most illiquid asset and about $10,000 in cash, and she got everything else, and I bought her a new car. And she got a cashier's check for the balance, whatever it was. But it was 75% of our whole fannies. And, I didn't challenge on who would do the custody. She's going to Virginia, I'm staying here, and she's the mom, and I'm not. And so I figured, I'm just going to get practical real quick on this, and you're going to let access of these children to me, right? Or else I'm going to come up there and break your other arm. Just kidding. Anyway, so we were divorced. And that was the end of that. And then I met this person down in, I was signed up to do this training thing. And I said, Bob Curtis is my boss. I said, Bob, do I really have to do this training? I got just divorced and I'm all screwed up in the head. That's why you're going to do the training. Because you need to get, you need to just to change it in flavor. You've done a marvelous job as a banker here. You're very solid. And we'll, for the week, it's only a week. I said, all right. And I've already told Jerry Gilliam, and he's expecting you to be in this training thing. He wants you in this training thing. I said, he does? Why is that? You trying to get me out of the bank? He says, no, you're a talent. You know how to communicate. People like you. I said, oh, that's nice. Can I have this in writing? He said, okay. So, all right. So I said, all right, I'll do it. It's a week. I know, but then this is 4 or 5 days before the week where we have to put the training together. It's like 2 weeks. He said, okay, it's 2 weeks. Whatever it is, do it. I said, all right. I already told Gilliam you're going to do it. I said, okay, Bob, I promise you, I will do it. I will do a good job. I will make you very proud of me. And I want you to check up with Jerry Gilliam, make sure I'm doing it right. So, I had a Thursday morning part, whatever it was. I swear to God, I cannot remember what I talked about. But there was a piece, it was a 4-hour, and I make sure no one's snapping, because I had a morning session. Anyway, so, I looked around the room. There were people from all over the state that came in. They flew in from Jacksonville and Tampa and Orlando, and we had like 30 banks. Royal Trust. It was about $1 billion little crowd in Florida, and the Royal Trustco in Canada swung a real special deal because they had a very unique banking license where a foreign bank holding company owned a USA bank, which I don't think has ever been done before. But they had a wrinkle, and we had really good lawyers in Miami that figured out how to do it. Yeah. I trying to think of the name of the lawyer. I knew him. He was good. I used to go out to lunch with him every once in a while. He said, Jimmy, that's another reason. Every once in a while you go out with these lawyers, everyone else hates them. I said, I know, but you have to, they're closing all our loans. So I just want to know, get to know them a little better, make sure they know what the hell they're doing. From a bank perspective, I'm not trying to outlaw them. He said, yeah, no, good. Keep an eye on them. Yeah. Yeah, Stein. Jerry Stein. I think. Yeah, Stein. Good lawyer. Very good. Oh, these guys. They could lift up a carpet and they could see all the little things moving around underneath it. Oh, boy. Stein was, oh my God, he was really good. I had him explain to me how they circumvented this USA Holding Company Act thing so that they could have a special exemption. Yeah. And, yeah, anyway, they started out with this crappy little bank in southwest Miami, Hialeah, Southwest 8th Street. Oh my God. Yeah. Took over the leases and all this stuff. We had to go in there and clean up the portfolio. That took a couple of years because it was all loused up because they had all these Latinos making their buddies loans. Credit worthiness was not high on their list of things to check on. Anyway, so I did my thing. I did my 2 weeks. I did my 2 weeks like prison. Well, it wasn't. It was very nice. I was just so loused up with this divorce thing. There's a finality to it, and two little kitties, when they're crying, and oh crap. Ugh. Anyway, so that was. So I did it. So the first week, I'm getting to know all the other facilitators. 2 or 3 of them I knew, and the other 4 or 5 came from out of state. And the composition of the class, there's about 30 or 40 of them. Let's just say 40, 25, 40, including us, the facilitators. Yeah, so it was like 30 and 10. Let's just say that. Because we had a couple of people that would make copies and do research for you on the fly if you needed it, It was breakfast, lunch, dinner together. Everybody was locked up. They all flew into the Rivergate Plaza. Everyone had separate rooms, and, we would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then after dinner, a couple of nights, we went out into the town as a crowd, filled up a whole freaking bus and went somewhere, made an arrangement, so that we would take over, 30 or 40 dinner reservations. Or not everybody would go every night. There was every night. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 nights. Yeah. Went to different places. I think I didn't go one night. One night I just drove around. I think it was Thursday night. I just drove in circles. Yeah, all over I don't know where I was going. Anyway, so on the 5th night, Friday night, now everybody's got their bags packed. Rooms are out. So the first class didn't start till 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. because you had that 2-hour window to check out. Yeah, and you had to bring your bags with you, all ready to go. You put it behind the desk at the Rivergate Plaza, but at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you have to report to the Daphne Lounge. We closed it. In other words, it was closed to the public. Now here you're in a big hustle bustle, 500-room Sheraton Rivergate Hotel, Friday night, and our people, senior people, bank people, went to the Sheraton people and said, "See that nice big lounge you got over there? Rope it off. We've taken up 30 rooms in your hotel for a week. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We paid premium for everything. This lounge is ours until midnight. Okay? Then you can pull the stanchions away. You just say private party until midnight. Period. Make up the signs. We're not signing the deal until I see the signs made up. Because Friday night, this lounge is ours." I said, okay. I understand it's the first time they've ever closed the lounge for anybody. Ever. Yeah, you could get a reservation for 8, but you weren't going to close it up. Well, we closed it up. We filled it. Because you had the 40 of us, 30 plus 10. And then there were 14, I think, Canadians that came down. Of course, it's in January, February, where it's nice and warm in Miami, and it's really cold up in Montreal. I mean, really cold. Ooh, summer in Montreal is 4th of July, the one day. Anyway, so they'd all come down, because they want to get part of the sun. So they come down for the whole weekend, of course. And the purpose is to shake everyone's hands. They signed diplomas. We had the president of the World Trustco, bank. They signed on the certificates right there. He brought his pen and signed all the certificates in ink right there. Yep. So that's pretty good, And we got special thingies because we were facilitators. So we all had to stand up there first, and then everybody had to come up one by one and get their diploma and get a picture. And it was really very, it was a classy deal. I was just one of the cogs in the wheels, but they had people. It was a $35 billion bank a very long time ago. Today that'd be trillions. Royal Trustco, Royal Bank of Canada, I think it turned into, years later. Name change, merges. I think there were only 3 or 4 banks in Canada. They all merged up. They were like 2,000, they merged to 4. Well, one of them is Royal Bank of Canada, and that's the pedigree from where I came. Anyway, so we're all having cocktails. So I'm sitting there at a nice table with Jill Thaggart, who was the head of Treasury. She ran the money machine, at 4 o'clock, the Fed wire. That was pretty interesting. I learned how to do that. And Karen Brown, who was head of personnel, and Jimmy is myself, the 3 of us. We all had segments in the training. So we were the Miami, I don't know if there was a 4. I think there's just the 3 of us that was the Miami segment of the training. And of course we knew everybody because we were in the head office. And the other facilitators, were floating around in other parts of the Daphne Lounge. So it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Diplomas go out at 6 o'clock. And 6:37, they had this unbelievable, buffet of the finest succulents that lobster pieces and shrimp pieces and, tenderloin pieces. It was all finger food, but it was the finest stuff the kitchen could make. Because, when you got a $35 billion bunch of bankers, and you got 10, they all flew in their private jets, several. They couldn't get on the same jet. They had to take 3. So they took over the private jet department at the Miami airport. They all fly in, they had their limousines, and they come over. It kind of felt like I was important, even though they didn't let me on a plane. Anyway, so I'm sitting there with Jill Thaggart and Karen Brown and myself, the 3 of us. Table for 4, and there's 1 seat that's open. So, it got around, so then we're just having cocktails or wine. I think I was sipping white wine. And had to behave myself. We got all the bigwigs. Of course, they took off after a while. So by 8:30, the bigwigs were gone. There was just the little wigs. So I'm at a table of 2 other wigs. And there's a 4th seat that's open over to my right arm. It's a diamond, square table. Jill Thacker was sitting across from me. Karen Brown is over to my left side, and to the right side, the seat was open. So I'm faced around that way, talking to the 2 ladies. It was a very nice conversation. Talking about Miami, the bank day, different banking things that happened during the past 2 weeks. What do you think of this person, that person? Oh, did you meet them? What do you call it in Jacksonville? So we all met all kinds of different people. So we became very important in the fact that we knew all these other senior people in the retail banking system from all over the state of Florida. Whoever has an opportunity to do that, except for what we just did. And so that was interesting exchange of information, to learn all these people and then go down the list. Then Karen Brown, she's in HR, so she had the whole list. We could, it was segregated by, what city they came from. So we went down to the list methodically, caught everybody. Yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, look at that. Here's the Miami contingent. So who's this? Marilyn Reed. I'll be darned. She was in this thing? Where the hell was she sitting? I don't remember. She always comes over from International with a stack of paper to hand over to Gilliam. I see her 2 or 3 times a week, walking by me. We had glass enclosed offices on the front. And I'd see her go by, tall, attractive, thin lady. Not allowed to notice I'm married, or was. So I said, I just didn't see her in there. He said, oh yeah, she was in there. She used to get as far back as she could. I said, well, I didn't let anyone sleep, so, and I'd pick on the back row. I guess I didn't see her in there. So it was about 8:15. And so Jill Thaggart looks up and says, hey, Marilyn, how you doing? She says, oh, could I come over and join you? I said, so I stand up and I said, there you go, there's Marilyn. Have a seat. So she sits down and just looked, oh my God, looked glorious. I said, wow, I've never seen you after 5 o'clock. You dress up nice. They're all dressed up because they all got diplomas and stuff. And it was the last day. It was Friday. It's like Friday night date night, even though we're all, in our banker stuff. So that's how I met Marilyn. As a human being, a person, mature person. So we started talking and this and that. So, 8:30 became 9:30 and 9:30 became 9:45 and then it became 10 o'clock, 9:45. And then Jill Thaggart and Karen Brown lived somewhere in Southwest Dade and they rode in together in one of their cars. I forget which one. And she said, Jimmy and Marilyn, if you don't mind, we're going to just peel her. We're going to go home. You guys can just stay and keep chatting. And so I'm going to take Karen Brown home, and I'm going to be home. Got things to do. Got a couple of kids running around. So we'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. Oh yeah. So we all stand up. They take off. We sit back down. I look at Marilyn. She's got like a 1/3 of a glass of wine. I got less than 1/3 of a glass of wine. I said, would you like to have another wine before you go? She said, yeah, let's. So then we had another glass of white wine. And then it became 10:15. And then we had another glass of white wine. So we're on like our 4th glass of white wine, which means you've each had a bottle. If I know how to count, 4 times 8 is 32. There are only 27 ounces in the bottle. Yep, we knocked off 2 bottles of wine for 2 people. Woo! Actually, the conversation was very spirited and active, and I didn't feel any intoxication actually, and I don't think she did either. So it was about 12:15 we were done. So, and of course everything was paid for because it was a bank, you call it. And I said, well, I guess we had the biggest drink ticket. I'll sign it. So I said, let me walk you out to the car. She said, oh, no, that won't be necessary. I said, it's after midnight. I am walking you out to the car. Shut up. Get your bags. My bag is already in my car. Let's go get your bags and let's roll them out to your car. She lived in Southwest Dade County, so And I live in Broward County, so I was going to head north, and she was going to head a little bit south and more west. So we come down to this row. She says, my car's just down there. I'll just go to. I said, no, I'm walking you to your car. Then you're going to unlock your car. Then you're going to get in your car. And then I'm going to shut the door. And then you're going to lock it. And then I will allow you to back up and leave. Is there any part of that scenario that you don't understand? It turns out she didn't want me to, excuse me, she didn't want me to see her old brown potato. It was some kind of a station wagon, whatever the hell those things were, those big things. I mean, it was really long. It was a land yacht. I don't know what the brand was. It was, some kind of like a General Motors or big station wagon. And it was, had old car smell. She said, I knew you wouldn't like this car. I said, no, it's fine. It's safe. Drive carefully. She said, well, my former husband was a fisherman, and he used to put all his stuff in here and a kayak on the top. And I said, yeah, that's fine. No. Yeah. Well, he's gone now, so I don't need this big thing. I said, well, we'll take care of that. Whenever you're ready, we'll get you. I know the general manager of Toyota, and they have very nice, all kinds of cars, or Porsche, whatever you want to drive. We'll make sure you, since we're in the money business, she's international, we're in the money business. We'll get you, a very favorable installment loan with the bank, and you just pick whatever the heck you want, just no matter how much comes out of your monthly check. I forget what we got her, but we got her something. And I said, so when I, tucked her in her car, I said, how about would it be okay if I called you Monday at 10 o'clock exactly and let you know to where I'm going to take you to lunch on Monday? Would you like to go to lunch on Monday? She said, oh, I'd love to. I said, well, I'll call you at 10 o'clock on Monday. Look at your watch. What time does your watch say? 12:15? Mine says 12:15. So we are synchronized. So at 10:01, you're going to get a phone call from me. Because they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have text message. I said, I'm not sending you an email. I'm calling you. What's your number? So she gives me her number. Direct line. I don't want to go through anybody. Direct line. Here's my direct line. In case you don't hear, you're going to hear from me. Unless I broke a leg, I will call you at 10:01, okay? And then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to pick you up at 11:55 from my car. It's a white Mercedes. And then we will drive down somewhere in Coral Gables and have a very nice lunch. Probably at the Charade. Do you know the Charade? She said, oh, yeah. I said, well, we're going to have lunch at the Charade. Tell McCluskey that it's going to be probably a longer than normal lunch. Not all day, but could be 12 to 2. Do you think you could sneak out for a couple hours? She said, yeah. I said, well, we were yakking along here pretty good tonight, so we'll probably have plenty to talk about on Monday. She said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll call you at 10 because the Charade opens at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to make the reservation first. They open at 9:30, the back room there. So I'm going to make a 12 sharp reservation, table 74, and I'll confirm that with you at 10 o'clock Monday. She said, perfect. So I call her at 10 o'clock on the button. I said, Marilyn, are you good for lunch on today? 11:55. You come right out your. She worked in one building. I worked in another building next door to it, across the street, across 8th Street, Little Havana, I think they called it. Still do, I think. 27th Avenue and 8th Street. Oh, my God. You walk around there now, they probably all got machine guns. Anyway, so I pick her up, and I know the route to Coral Gables, and we went to Charade, and my car was parked right out in front. We got out, we went in the building, and the guy looks at me and he says, you have a reservation? I said, yes. It's under Jim Wilson. I said, you see that table right up there, number 74? That's where we want to be. Upstairs balcony, looking down on the whole rest of the restaurant. There are only like 4, 5, 6 tables up there. I said, you can do that, right? Well, you normally don't open that up until 1 p.m. I said, well, we're going to open it up at 12 today because we're going to be there till 2. So, no problem, Mr. Wilson. We know you will. Pulling your leg. So we went up there, steps. There's no elevator, I don't think. It was an old house. They ripped out the middle. It was a marvelous place. Whew. Yeah. So that's what I did. Stayed right there till 2. I think it was till 2:30. Yeah. And we just talked, and oh my God, we were so romancy dancy. Oh my God. Her hand holding and all this stuff. The first lunch. Well, we had a nice introduction. We kind of knew each other, I mean, I saw her across the hallway. Hello. I never really got up to go over and talk to her. I mean, 3 times a week, she'd be huddling there with Tony Romeo and Bob Curtis, my coworker and my boss. And they'd chit-chat with her over by the elevator. I wouldn't get up, I'm a married guy. I just didn't have any interest in, I mean, she was attractive. she was the campus hottie, oh my God. She was, very conservative, reserved. Yeah, I mean, she wasn't fooling around, no, nothing like that. She was a very classy lady. Anyway, so I just didn't get up because I was just busy doing stuff. And I didn't normally, Bob Curtis and I and Tony, we go out to lunch 3 or 4 times a week. So, she'd come over at like 10 or 11 to deliver papers over to the chairman's office from the international department. We had a big international department, which Marilyn worked in. She was in charge of Central and South America. How about that for a territory? Everything south of Miami, she managed. Talk about in this. Whew. Yeah, McCluskey thought very highly of her. She did a good job. She was almost bilingual, but she knew enough to have banking conversations. And back then they had telexes. You type these big strips of tape, and then you put it in there, and this head goes up and down. About that kind of velocity of the head hitting the, reading letters and numbers and spaces and paragraphs, shifts, and it would produce it, like a telegraph message. Except they call it telex. Telex. Yeah. If you watch, professional or college football and or professional football, you see the coaches with headphones on, and sometimes you'll see telex written across the headphone because they make specialty devices. I'm sure they do all kinds of things, but I think that's the same telex company that made all this international communications equipment. Because when you're trying to send a message, over to England or Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, there's just some places that I was dealing with from, people that were buying stuff in the United States and financing it and building it or whatever. Well, she did everything with, Venezuela was a huge financial powerhouse back then. It wasn't, today it's like a disaster. 50 years ago, it was a super strong, most wealthiest country in that whole region. Yeah. Next to Brazil. Another big one. Anyway, so she communicated with all the financial institutions all over Central and South America, or big clients. And when we talk big clients, in the, in that part of the world, they owned countries. Big client here, they own, 10 Jaguars. South America, oh yeah, we're joint ventures in Brazil. Okay. No, I never did anything. I didn't do anything with Central and South America. Oh yeah, I had one. I'm sorry, I had a couple of customers, come to think of it. Pietro Iade. Imagine this is someone that comes out of mind 50 years ago. Oh, God. Now, here's one that's 40 years ago, which everyone knows here. Edward J. DeBartolo. I actually became friendly with Edward J. DeBartolo. Can you imagine? I went to his 77th birthday party. There was a place called Malio's. It was a nightclub in Tampa. When Marilyn and I, we got married and we moved to Tampa because I got hired at Southeast Bank and Marilyn got hired at Southeast Bank. It was a twofer. They wanted me a lot and they didn't know Marilyn. And I said, well, you don't get me unless you hire her. So she had to go to Tampa and get interviewed by Jerry Whittemore and a few other really senior people, because it was the first time, actually, that two officers were hired working in the same city. They had like a policy exception. You couldn't be officers in the same bank as Southeast Bank. If you were, dating each other, that's one thing, but a memo would have to go in the file. But if you end up getting married, one of you had to quit. It was the policy. I said, oh, how terrible. I guess I'm not going to Tampa. Well, hold on a minute. Let's see what we can do. I said, yeah, you make an exception to policy. I do it all the time. I mean, you have a rule book of loans, right? You have all the rules. There's not enough paper to document all the different ways you're going to make a loan. So if it doesn't fit within the exact parameters of whatever the policy says, you write a memo. It's called, this is an exception to policy. And of course, that has to be reviewed by the board of directors. And I said, fine, let the board of directors review it. She works in one department, I work in another. I make loans and she makes deposits. We're like on opposite sides of the balance sheet. Shouldn't be a problem. Plus she works, like a mile away from me. And we're in totally different, circles of clientele. So they made an exception to policy. We both got hired. And, we moved to Tampa. So now we have to find a house. Well, it was right when the interest rates were like 14%. Residential rates are 14.5%. Oh, my God. So Maud Powerty, our real estate agent, she's trying to find a place. So we finally finished, it was like a 2-month effort trying to find a spot. And then we finally put an offer on something. And then we put an offer on, it was like 3 or 4 different offers on 3 or 4 different spots. So anyway, in the meantime, Southeast Bank, we're up, they're paying for, a nice hotel room at the, oh my God, what was that? The Hyatt Regency. I like to stay in nice places. What the hell? I work hard. We play hard. So, Hyatt Regency, yep. We stayed there for like 4 months. And of course, they would have to pay for, 2 or 3 times a week, all your dry cleaning, all your underwear cleaning, because you didn't have any, you stayed in a hotel room. Breakfast, lunch, and dinners, or breakfast dinners, or lunches, dinners, whatever. They give you per diem of $50 a day per person. 40 years ago, you could do a lot of eating on $50 a day. And then you had like a $25, Coca-Colas and wines. Anyway, so we ended up meeting Malio. He was over at the Hyatt doing something, a nightclub owners association meeting. Anyway, so I bumped into him. And so he tells me this story with Edward J. DeBarlo made him $1 million interest-free loan. And he and his twin brother, they moved down from Youngstown, Ohio, and they found this place on Dale Mabry Highway. And they did it as a nightclub, and it was some other kind of a place, and they redid it to make it a nightclub, and a nice bar, and a nice nightclub thingy, and nice dining, good kitchen, good chefs, and people that serve cocktails. So we really got to like the bar. So we'd go over there. At 5:30, we'd go to the bar. We'd go to Malio's and have a couple of wines there to start our evening. And so after about a month of that, I looked over to Malio and I said, so he ran the downstairs. And Chris Alvarone, his twin brother, not identical twins, but twins, born the same time but different embryos. I think Malio was the older brother, and Chris was the younger brother by 3 minutes. So I said, Malio, we got to be friends. So we're like first name friends. And Marilyn was sitting there with me. I said, you know what? I said, doesn't Mr. Barlow come down here and visit you? He said, yeah, he comes down here all the time. He comes in here, he walks through the door, he takes 3 steps to the south, and he stands there, and I bring him, a single malt, brown shot or whatever he wants. And he stands there and has a couple of those. And then he'll go out and get back in his limousine and go somewhere else for dinner. He does it like 3 times a week. I said, really? I said, is there any possible way that I can intrude on you and have me walk over with you so that you can introduce me to him? Because I'm in the money business. How can I not know Mr. DeBarlow? And I do mall stuff. So what the heck? I'm the guy that does the big loans. So he said, oh, I'm sure he would love to meet you. And I said, he will love to meet you because I got to know you pretty good. And you're our kind of people. I said, oh, that's so nice to hear. He said he'll be in here Thursday evening. He's flying in from Youngstown. He's going to stay here a couple of days, and then he's flying to Phoenix. Do something in Phoenix. I said, okay. So Thursday, sure as hell, 5:30, he comes over. He walks in the door. He walks 2 steps to the south, standing, from the front door of the place. A nightclub, busy nightclub. And he just stands there and he has a cocktail all by himself. He doesn't talk to anybody. I walk over there with Malio. He said, Mr. DeBarlow, Mr. D. He's going, Mr. D, this is Jim Wilson. He would just love to meet you. And he said, how are you? So we shake hands and that, and the 3 of us stand there and talk for a minute, and then Malio gets busy. He said, gentlemen, do you mind if I just step away? So then Mr. DeBarlow and I continued on a conversation, and, one thing led to another. And then right next to where he was standing, there was a booth that was empty. I looked over to Chris, or Malio, and I did like the 2-finger sign. We're just gonna sit down here. So we just sat down there, and we just yacked away for a couple of hours. It was marvelous, nice conversation. Very, this guy was the largest office building developer in the country. He was the largest property owner for malls in the country. He was the largest vacant land guy in the country. I mean, he was worth billions a long time ago. And he was very busy. And he had this, he had a contingent of, I call them gatekeepers. So you couldn't talk to Mr. D unless you went through one of the Youngstown, Ohio gatekeepers. And there was 2 layers of them to get to him. Unless you could get directly to him. So, yes, sir, Bob. I got his direct. He gave me the phone number of his planes. He had 3 of them. His pilots and himself. He said, if you call this number, my secretary, he used to call him secretary, not executive. So he said, my senior personal secretary will find me. She'll either call one of my planes or you can call a plane direct. Here's all my numbers. There's 4 or 5 of them. He said, but if you call Annabelle, she'll find me. She knows where I am. When I'm with one of my girlfriends in one of my apartments in whatever city, she has that number too. She will find me. And so I said, so what we're going to do, since we've been talking here for a while, got to know each other, and you want me to do a mall renovation loan up in the middle part of the state of Florida, in Lakeland area, somewhere over there. He said, yeah, he named the city. I forget which. It's about 40. He said, yeah, I need 40 million or so. I said, okay, let's just say 45. You're going to give me a budget, right? He said, of course. I need a signed, personal, dated financial statement. I said, you know all the stuff I need, right? I need everything. Never done anything business with you. I said, we're going to go through everything like soup to nuts. And then the next loan or 2 or 3 that we do, we don't have to go through all this crap again. We just need the deal terms on the second or third one. But for the first one, we're going to turn you upside down and shake your quarters out of your pockets. I said, you know how it is. I said, you borrowed more money than God himself. So he said, yeah, I will have a box. And this was like Friday afternoon or so, or Thursday afternoon. He said, I will have my staff in Youngstown prepare. I know exactly what you need. I said, I need a complete budget on, what the purpose of the loan is, all the different line items and all that. If you got any plans and specs on that, that would be helpful. And the real estate, survey, give me the whole thing. Let's get it done. He said, I love the way you sound. I said, no, this is how I do it. It's really very simple. The hard part is you and me making a deal. And I said, but here's the deal. Do you mind if I just throw the deal out at you and see what you think? So I had on my yellow pad, I wrote down, here's A, here's B, here's the loan amount, here's the interest rate, prime plus a half and a half-point fee. Is that okay? He said, that's fantastic. Prime plus a half and a half-point fee. Yeah, New York City prime. I won't even forget bank prime. New York City prime plus a half and a half-point fee. You guarantee the loan, the whole loan, not the top 25%, 100% guarantee. Yep. I go through all the line items, all the stuff that we talked about that I can remember. It was like 10 or 12 line items. I said, so I turned the pad around. I said, take a look at that. How does that look? He said, that looks like exactly what we talked about. Is that exactly what you're willing to accept? I said, just initial the bottom part right there. I said, I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to initial that part. So now, you and I have a little, a deal sheet, so to speak. It's handwritten. Sorry, I'm left-handed, and it's a little sloppy, but you understand what it says. I understand what it says. So I am going to, you're going to give me a box. When am I going to get the box? He said, Monday morning, They have a before 8:30 delivery. It'll be FedEx, but prior to 8:30 in the morning. I said, okay. I'm usually there at 7:30. So I will be able to answer that. I will get that box and I'll immediately start, organizing it in the way that the bank likes. I'm sure, so sure as hell. 8:30 delivery. I get a box from Youngstown, Ohio, Edward J. DeBartolo, personal and confidential. It's all taped shut, like there's a couple of hands in there. I hate to use that. Oh, God. So I didn't say anything to anybody because I didn't want to get my hopes up and not get the box. So I get the box. My secretary, Joanna, she says, okay, Jimmy, what's in the box? From Youngstown, Ohio? What are you doing with Youngstown, Ohio? I said, well, I happened to bump into Edward J. DeBartolo. Does that name ring a bell? She said, you kidding me? The bank has been trying to do business with him for 25 years. I said, I kind of thought so. Has the bank ever done anything with Edward J. DeBartolo? He doesn't think so. I said, I don't think so. I said, well, we're going to do something with him now. And here's the box. So you sit down right over here, bring your coffee and your glasses, and we're going to sort through this box. And we're going to produce a deal term letter that we're going to get out to Mr. DeBartolo immediately. You see this yellow pad here? I already have him sign my yellow pad. She said, are you kidding me? I said, no. This is a deal we're going to do. And it's a deal that we can do. Because I know what you can do. And I know what he will do. And we have a marriage. So we have to get this approved by Wednesday. This is Monday. And if I have to fly to Miami to do it, I will do that. It's $42 million, so we've got to be quick. Because Thursday, I promised him that I will have a commitment letter in his hands. How about that? I mean, it's subject to a lot of stuff, because we have to verify things. But I want a commitment letter out in your typewriter, and we're going to hand do it. Forget any of this form letter crap. This is going to be a custom thing, which I'll dictate to you. You type, I read, we'll edit, we'll get it right. And then I'm going to march it down to Bernie Bischoff down there, who's actually the guy who's in charge of me, so to speak. They had the dotted line stuff. Dotted line to Miami and dotted line over to Bernie Bischoff, who's the senior credit for the Tampa region. So I will go. I stand in front of Bernie's office, walk down the hallway, make a right turn. There's Bernie's office. He said, okay, Wilson, what do you want? He said, I heard you might have caught a whale. I said, what does that mean? He said, come on, Jimmy, you got a big customer, right? I said, yeah. So I shake the commitment letter from my hand. I said, take a little look at that. Just page through that and see what you think. So he reads through this thing. He said, this is spectacular. I said, I know. He's going to do it. He's going to 100% guarantee, not a top money guarantee, 100% performance and completion. I think I got all the fancy words there. And here's an exhibit, the handwritten thing, which I did at the Malio's on Thursday evening. He said, he said, Jimmy, you are unbelievable. I've never seen, a yellow page staple as an exhibit to the commitment letter. I said, well, I just wanted to demonstrate to him that it's exactly to the letter as we agreed on Thursday evening. And no one has to remember. I even got him to initial the yellow page. And I initialed it. And it's Exhibit B. And he's already given me a complete box, which I have FedExed to the credit people in Miami. And I'm going to make a copy of this, if you don't mind. This reads okay to you, right? I said, Joanne and I read it twice. Looks good. I've written a few of these. It's not It's not your Southeast Bank bullshit. It's too big and the print's too small, and you can't have that kind of a commitment letter to the largest real estate holder in the entire United States. You'd think he deserves a custom something. So we're going to call this a custom haircut. I said, I want you to make a copy of this, and I want you to send it down to Jess Lawhorn and Mike Ivanetic. They're your two buddies down there, the two P's. With a $40 million loan, you need a P and another P. You need two P's. And we need you. I said, so between you and the two P's and me, we can get this done. Because I have to get it. It's got to be signed off on before Wednesday night, because I have to have this commitment letter so that I can sign it Thursday, and then I got to get DeBartolo back in town so he signs it and writes me a check, because there's a loan fee in here. He has to pay half the fee up front, which is a quarter point. It's a half-point fee, quarter point now, quarter point at closing. If you guys want to lay any of it off, participate it, that's fine. You can either participate it or I'll do it for you. And, so we go on our merry way doing a $40 million loan. How about that for week number 3? I'm not even in my house yet. I got a $40 million loan on my belt. What the hell are you guys doing? He laughed. He said, guess what? You get this thing signed up on Friday. I'm taking you out to lunch upstairs at the University Club. And I might even make you a member. I said, well, this one loan should pay for that. I said, I haven't even opened up my pencils and pens yet. So, I had a good time with him. I hate to be a wise guy, but that's how I got to start off at Southeast Bank. That's the first time I heard a whale. Yep, I hooked a whale. I didn't hook a whale. He was a nice guy. This is the man you want to do business with. Not because he's a regular person. He just happens to own everything. Yep, so that was our introduction to Tampa. And we finally moved in our house, July 4th of July. Yeah, it was like July 16th. We missed 4th of July. We couldn't get in there. It was a USA home, the model house, of course. It was right, they were wrapping up the end of a subdivision, and they had 2 miles left over, this one and another one. And of course, it wasn't owned by them because they hawk everything. It was U.S. Homes. And they had to get it out of a trust, some kind of a leasing trust. And it took a week to have that happen, which, of course, everybody didn't count on taking a week to get it out of the leasing trust. So that we would have because Southeast Bank did the loan, they had to have a first mortgage loan, not subject to a leasing trust, that someone could renege on. Anyway, so we finally got that done and moved in and missed our 4th of July splash in the pool. Anyway, they let us in the house early. We just couldn't own it until July 16th, if I remember right. Some year, a long time ago. So that's my story about meeting Edward J. DeBoer. Anyway, we become very good friends. The following year, the ICSC, the International Council of Shopping Centers, of course, Mr. DeBartolo has the largest booth, which is about the size of a gymnasium. That's already in a gymnasium. So I walk in there, and oh my God, I get all the hugs from everybody because what the hell, I just gave him $45 million, so I'm Pex's best friend. So we worked on a couple other deals. Yeah, that was fun. Anyway, so I get a card. So we're staying at this is in, New Orleans, Louisiana. One of the few times that they had the ICSC in a city other than Las Vegas, because New Orleans doesn't have enough rooms. They need like 75,000 rooms for this one convention. Can you imagine? And Las Vegas has 90,000 rooms. Then. I don't know how many they got now. They keep knocking down buildings. I just heard they just blew up one of them last week. Anyway, it was in New Orleans for his 77th birthday. Back in the 80s, 80-something. 82 or 3. And so I go home to my room at 7:30. So I open up my room door the next morning, whatever morning that was, and there's a card, like a birthday card, stuck halfway under my door. Someone found me. So I open up this thing. Marilyn broke her leg, so she wasn't there. She's riding a horse. I said, Marilyn, it's Monday. I said, don't ride a horse. You're going to get hurt, and then you're not going to be able to come with me, and I have to go to New Orleans because Mr. D is going to be there. Crenshaw's going to want me there. I got to be there. I just got to. Of course, Mr. Wilson, emergency call. Fell off a horse, broke her ankle. You need to come to the hospital immediately. She's scheduled for immediate surgery. Oh, shit. Anyway, so she just before they, knocked her out, she said, I am going to New Orleans. I said, I don't think so, but, stay positive. I looked at Dr. Goldstein, who was the chief orthopedic guy for the Tampa football team. The professional football team. He's the chief, orthopedic guy. He's the one that does all the knees and the broken and everything. I said, she thinks she's going to New Orleans on Monday morning. What do you think? This is like Wednesday or Thursday or something. She said, there's no way she's going to New Orleans. I said, this operation is very unique. She broke it right down at the ankle, a complete compound fracture. And I'm going to have to screw it together with 2 stainless steel plates and about 14 screws. And that whole part of her body is going to be so aggravated with the surgery that once the medicine wears off, she's going to want to have that foot way above her head. So unless she expects to be walking around with her ankle above her nose, and jumping around on one leg, no, she's not. No, it ain't going to happen. She'd be lucky if she can get off the couch. She's not going to be even sleeping in the bed because she's going to want to have her leg up on 2 pillows and, because the throbbing will be so intense. You will not have to worry about her wanting to get anywhere near an airport. Yeah, no, not happening. Not to worry. So I didn't say anything to Marilyn until like a day and a half after the operation. When she looked at me with these teary eyes, she said, I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Rose. I said, no shit. You got this thing on your leg. What are you kidding me? You got 20 pounds of stuff hanging from your ankle. No hoses coming out, but oh my God. You got 17 bottles of stuff you got to take. I said, I'm sorry. I got to go, though. Hope you don't mind. I hate to leave you here. I said, let's call your dad and get him up here so he can watch over you. So he comes up, good old Mr. Murray. Oh boy. He loved his daughter. Yeah, he took care of her. And made her, well, Marilyn, what would you like for me to make you for dinner? He was like, he was the chief cook, bottle washer. He was, Chef Boyardee. He made comfort food like unbelievable. And, Marilyn was like 30 or 27 or 8 or not, whatever. And so he knew everything that she liked. Of course, she'd eat anything. She's a sweetie. Yep. So that's my DeBarlow story. Anyway, so I get this card. This is going on forever. It's like, oh my God. An hour and a half later, I'm still talking. Anyway, so I get this card slipped onto my door one morning. It was, like Wednesday or Thursday morning. We're well into the festivities at, what do you call it? The ICSC in New Orleans, Louisiana. We talk about fine dining, and oh my God. Ooh. Plus, my business associates, partners were from New Orleans, so they knew all the fine places, all the back rooms, and oh my God, what a sleazy place that was. I mean, it's nice. I mean, call it character. I call it a little, you better know what you're doing or else you're going to get, today you get totally mugged and wiped out, ripped off or whatever. You're lucky if you go back with your shoes. Yeah. But, 40 years ago it was just insane. It wasn't, dangerous. But insane can be dangerous. Anyway, so I stayed with the crowd. And this crowd knew what they were doing. And, of course, my partner was a former tight end with, football teams. So he was, I said, Curtis, protect me. Yeah, he was like, he'd knock you on top of the head and you'd be, you'd sink 2 feet into the soil. Yeah, he was a big, tough guy. Nice guy. But you don't want to get him mad. No. Curtis was, he could be very unfriendly. Yeah. Wife was a sweetie. Yeah. I used to keep an eye out, make sure she was taken care of, because he'd get off. He'd go off on a tangent and he'd just leave her somewhere. Yeah, Betty Crenshaw. So I'd take care of Marilyn and Betty. I was like the person that took care of the two pretty ladies. They were both stunning. Oh, boy. So I get this card under my door. Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, probably Wednesday morning. I open up the card. Mr. Edward J. DeParlo would like the pleasure of your presence for his 77th birthday party at 7 o'clock sharp in the whatever room, the foo-foo room, whatever the room was. So I figured, well, that's pretty exciting. So maybe it was 4 o'clock. I think maybe it was 4 o'clock. I don't think it was late. So at 3:30, I'm all dressed up. I got my card in my pocket. I got some notepaper to write on, folded up. I got a pen. You got to have pen and paper wherever you go. A couple of business cards. So I put 10 business cards in my pocket just in case I bump into somebody that wants my card. And so I'm walking up and down. It's a big, whatever the hotel, it was the biggest hotel in New Orleans. Big, modern, one at the end of the point on the water. It seemed like it had a shade of pinkish in the stonework, fluted block. Anyway, so I'm walking all over the mezzanine and the other mezzanine 1, 2, 3, and I'm walking all over the place. I said, what the hell? Where could 1,000 people hide out? It's a big place, but there's not anybody walking around. So I figured, oh shit, it's 10 to 4. I gotta get to this place. I cannot be late. So I finally go to, bingo. So I go to the front desk, concierge desk, because they had a separate concierge desk. So of course, there's a line. And I kind of step in front of the desk and kind of get around the line part. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. I said, could someone just tell me where this is? You don't have to get up. Just tell me. You see that big guy in the tuxedo right there? That's the front door to that room. I said, really? I didn't think there'd be enough seats in that room for an Edward DeBarlo birthday party. You sure that's the right room? That's not the coat check room or something? He said, no, that's the room. Big round table in it. and I think your name is on one of the seats. I said, really? That must be a really big round table. He says, no, sir, it's really not that big. You're obviously a very close friend of Mr. DeBarlow's. I said, well, thank you, sir. So I walked down there, and this big Italian-looking guy, really big, like he's a boxer dressed up in a tuxedo, He looked really nice. His hair is slicked back, black hair. He said, Mr. Wilson, where have you been? I said, I'm looking around, you know my name? What the heck? How do you know my name? He said, because you're the only one that's not here yet. And Mr. DeBarlow just stuck his head out the door and he said, where's Jimmy? I said, oh boy. I said, it's not 4 yet. I said, I know, but everyone else got here early. Whoops. Let me turn off the alarm. Yep. So, yes, sir. So, that's how I got to Mr. DeBarlow's birthday party. Yep. And, unbelievable. Why is this? I just can't seem to keep my hands off this thing. Anyway, so Mr. Barlow comes to the door, opens up the door, gives me a hug, and I said, happy birthday, and how are you? I'm kind of looking around over his shoulder, and I see these 11 seats, right? And there's Mr. D's seat, and right next to Mr. D is my seat, apparently. It's the only other empty seat. So we walk over to the table, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet one of my very best friends, Mr. James Wilson. And they all applaud. Now, these are all the guys from Bank of America, Citibank, the Royal this and the Bank of England. There's all these freaking people. And I get introduced as one of his best friends. Again, holy crap. I better act smart. You don't want to act stupid with all these people. It was really very nice. I mean, they were all delightful people. And I handed out all my cards to every one of them, just to keep in touch and all this. And, of course, we did keep in touch, and it was marvelous. I met all the finest big bankers in the country, a couple across the, including across the pond, as they say. Yeah, wow. That was unbelievable. I sat there right next to Mr. D. Everyone is telling stories and all this, and we're yucking it up. And, let's toast to this and toast to that. Ooh, a fine dinner. Oh, my God, lobsters and, oh, God, tenderloins. Whew, they said, a little bowl of pasta. I love pasta. Yeah, oh, God. We certainly did eat well in the banking world. Yeah. Just don't eat often. When you do eat, I used to say, work hard and play hard. So this was a nice, we didn't eat till like 6:30, so 4:30, it was 2 hours before we had anything to eat. And, of course, then we stayed there till like 10:30 or 11. So, 6-hour birthday party, what the heck, for 13 people, including DeBarlow. Mr. D. Yeah. I looked at him and I said, you know what, Mr. D, I totally enjoy your company and I totally enjoy all these people that you like so well. Congratulations on having such marvelous people. He said, well, Jimmy, you're one of them. I said, well, I'm so honored to have you say that, It's really, it makes, long hours and hard work worthwhile to have the opportunity to meet such a nice gentleman as yourself. Yep, so that was the 77th birthday party. And I was one of the attendees. I was looking for a room of 1,000 people. How these birthday parties, it's like a huge thing. And you got a panel of people that like roast the partier. Yeah, the parties and the partiers. Oh my God. All right, Miss Marilyn is here. It's 5:03 p.m. I'm going to sign off and go take care of her. She just doesn't look too happy, so we have to make her happy. So, if you don't mind, I'm still connected. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Holy crap. And 25 seconds. I think it's time to say good night. Let me get my, the one thing I do when I close out. Yeah, there's the date and time. So I'm going to, as you know, I do that. There we go. So that's full screen. I'm going to put the music up onto full blast. It's Friday night. No, it's Thursday. No, it's Wednesday night. Yeah. I think I'm going to have a cocktail. 5 o'clock. Date night. Every night's date night with Marilyn. So you all have a great day, and I will talk. I'll talk to you tomorrow for certain.